The Battle of Dieppe was meant to be a test of Allied resolve, a test of new tactics, a test of whether Western forces could land on a heavily defended European coastline and survive. Instead, it became one of the bloodiest and most painful lessons of World War II, a single day of chaos, courage, and catastrophe that reshaped how the Allies would fight the war going forward. By the summer of 1942, the Allies were under immense pressure. The Soviet Union was bearing the full weight of the German army on the Eastern Front and demanded a second front in Western Europe. Joseph Stalin wanted relief, and he wanted it now. Britain and the United States were not ready for a full invasion of France, but they needed to show action. They needed to prove that Europe would not be abandoned. Out of that pressure came a risky plan, a large-scale raid against the French port of Dieppe. The goal was not to hold territory. It was to gather intelligence, test German coastal defenses, evaluate amphibious tactics, and demonstrate Allied commitment. If successful, it would boost morale and provide invaluable experience. If it failed, the cost would be high. But planners believed the risk was acceptable. They were wrong. Dieppe was a terrible choice. The town sat beneath steep cliffs, with narrow beaches covered in loose stones that bogged down vehicles and slowed infantry. German defenses were extensive: concrete bunkers, machine gun nests, artillery positions, and interlocking fields of fire. The port itself was heavily fortified. Any attacker would be exposed from the moment they left their landing craft. Still, the plan went forward. The raid, codenamed Operation Jubilee, relied heavily on Canadian troops. Nearly 5,000 Canadians would make up the core of the assault, supported by British commandos and a small contingent of American Rangers observing the operation. For Canada, it was meant to be a moment of pride, proof that Canadian forces were ready to fight in Europe. In the early hours of August 19, 1942, Allied ships crossed the English Channel under cover of darkness. The plan depended on surprise. The landings would happen quickly. Defenses would be overwhelmed. Troops would push inland, destroy key targets, and withdraw before German reinforcements could respond. But almost nothing went as planned. Before the main landings even began, German patrols encountered Allied ships offshore. Gunfire erupted in the darkness. The sound alerted coastal defenses. Searchlights snapped on. The element of surprise was gone. At dawn, the first waves of landing craft approached the beaches. German guns opened fire immediately. Machine gun bullets tore through the shallow water. Shells slammed into landing craft, blowing them apart. Soldiers were killed before they reached shore. Others jumped into deep water and drowned under the weight of their gear. Those who made it onto the beach found themselves pinned down behind a thin strip of shingle, unable to move forward or retreat. Canadian infantry charged into a storm of fire. Men ran across open ground under relentless machine gun fire. Mortars exploded among tightly packed troops. Snipers picked off officers and radio operators. Units became disorganized within minutes. Communication broke down. Smoke and dust filled the air. Chaos replaced coordination. Then came the tanks. Churchill tanks were meant to provide armored support, crushing defenses and clearing the way inland. But the beach betrayed them. The loose stones caused tracks to spin uselessly. Many tanks never made it off the beach. Others were disabled by obstacles or knocked out by German anti-tank guns positioned high above the shore. Those tanks that did move forward found themselves trapped by concrete barriers and narrow streets. They could not maneuver. They could not retreat. One by one, they were destroyed or abandoned. On the flanks, British commandos achieved limited success, neutralizing some German gun positions. But those victories could not save the main assault. The central attack at Dieppe was collapsing. Despite overwhelming losses, orders continued to push men forward. Wave after wave landed into the same killing zones. Some soldiers fought their way into the town itself, battling street by street, room by room. But they were isolated, cut off, and surrounded. German defenders, protected by bunkers and elevated positions, maintained complete control of the battlefield. By mid-morning, The reality was undeniable. The raid had failed. The beaches were littered with bodies, wrecked landing craft, and burning vehicles. Wounded men lay exposed, unable to be evacuated. German fire remained intense. Attempts to withdraw became as deadly as the assault itself. Landing craft sent to rescue survivors were hit as they approached shore. Many soldiers were trapped with no way out. Some fought until they ran out of ammunition. Others were forced to surrender. Many never made it off the beach alive. By early afternoon, the operation was over. The cost was staggering. Out of nearly 5,000 Canadian troops, more than 3,300 were killed, wounded, or captured. British commandos and naval forces also suffered heavy losses. Hundreds of aircraft were damaged or destroyed. Dozens of ships were sunk or disabled. For Canada, it was the bloodiest single day of the war. For Germany, it was a clear defensive victory. But the story of Dieppe does not end with failure, because Dieppe changed everything. The raid exposed critical flaws in Allied planning. It proved that frontal assaults against heavily defended ports were suicidal. It showed the necessity of overwhelming air and naval support. It highlighted the importance of intelligence, specialized equipment, and deception. Every mistake made at Dieppe became a lesson that would shape the future. Those lessons would be applied 2 years later on the beaches of Normandy. D-Day succeeded because Dieppe failed. The Allies learned to avoid direct assaults on ports. They developed specialized landing craft, armored vehicles, and engineering units. They refined coordination between air, sea, and ground forces. They planned massive deception operations to confuse the enemy. They ensured overwhelming firepower before troops touched the sand. The blood spilled at Dieppe was not wasted, though that knowledge came too late for the men who fought there. For the soldiers on the beach, Dieppe was terror, courage, and sacrifice compressed into a few brutal hours. They fought knowing the odds were against them. They advanced into gunfire because they were ordered to, and because they believed in the mission. The Battle of Dieppe stands as one of the most painful chapters of World War II, not because it was pointless, but because its cost was so high and its outcome so brutal. It reminds us that victory is often built on failure, and that the lessons of war are paid for in lives. Dieppe was not a triumph. It was a warning. And because that warning was heard, the next time Allied soldiers stormed the beaches of Europe, they would not face the same fate.